Hello and welcome to the show. I am here with Niko House, host of the radio show Mi Casa es Su Casa, and critic of mine. Niko, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So we are here to discuss, debate, however you want to frame it, the arrest of Seahawks defensive end Michael Bennett in Las Vegas. And that was the topic of my last video. If you missed it, I encourage you to watch that one first because it will be the subject of today's discussion. Niko, I want to give the audience the proper context for how this debate came to be. Do you want to explain why you came to me, or I'll explain?
I mean, we can both explain. It doesn't matter. So essentially, I actually have a great deal of respect for Matt Christiansen in the sense of, even though we don't always agree on everything, he is very well read and educated, and for the most part objective in his presentation of ideas. However, in this particular instance, I vehemently disagreed with him. Not necessarily. Well, no, I do disagree with him in the fact that it's Michael Bennett's responsibility to prove whether or not this was a racist act or an act that may have been instigated by racism.
Well, he made the claim.
No, I know. I'm not. But I'm saying he did make the claim. And I disagree with you on whether or not it was an act of racism. But also, I don't appreciate the way, nor do I find it helpful. And more so, I find it dangerous and divisive to pretend to play devil's advocate in a situation where you have clearly already drew the line in the sand, as you've obviously showed how you felt when you referenced Colin Kaepernick in your video and your initial video about Colin Kaepernick in this entire situation with police brutality or just structural racism in America in general.
Now so, you've been very generous there. I want to be clear. I want to be clear about some of the things that you said about me. You said that I'm lazy. You said that I was pandering. You said that I'm a liar.
I said your video was intellectually lazy. Yes,
okay, the video is intellectually lazy. That I'm a conservative YouTuber lying about Michael Bennett to pander to my audience.
Yes.
Okay. So I will say, or I'll allow you to take on those claims in the order in which you'd like to.
Well, yeah, I'm going to take on those claims as well, but I'm also going to take on the claims that you've made in your video, because I think there's a greater debate to be had, which is why I named you those things. So let's go ahead. We can just focus on that video at first. So the greater issue obviously at hand with Michael Bennett is what Colin Kaepernick was talking about, right? So structural racism and oppression.
It's not what my video was about.
No, but it's one of the reasons that it got the attention that it did was because it.
No, let's stick to your video about my video. How about that?
Well, I said that we're going to debate about Michael Bennett, so we're going to debate about Michael Bennett, and I'll discuss my video.
Okay, so let's stick to that.
So that's what we're going to talk about, and I actually talked about Colin Kaepernick and Michael Bennett in my video because, well, that's why I made the video.
Let's start here.
But
you say that I've omitted facts.
Let me finish.
Sure.
So essentially, what Michael tried to assert was that it's Michael Bennett's. It's his responsibility to prove that he was a victim of racism, when nothing historically, recent or otherwise, really requires Michael Bennett to have to prove anything. I mean, what we know for a fact is that police departments have a habit of being institutionally racist. But what I think Matt is confused by is the intentionality of racism. Does it have to be intentional, or can it just be something that's once?
Okay, so what about every other black guy in the casino? Why were they not the victims of racism? And by the way,
that is a silly. Oh, go ahead.
And by the way, so you're accusing the Las Vegas Police Department of being institutionally racist. To be clear, I
am talking about the institution of police departments. Period.
Okay. Have you ever been to the Las Vegas Police Department's website?
What does that have to do?
Have you seen how many black cops they have? Have you seen their? Have you seen how they pride themselves on the diversity of their department?
You're moving the goalposts once again. You're talking about a black.
You're the one saying they're racist.
Let me.
What have they done that's racist? One piece of evidence.
Did I say that black person was racist? No. What I said was
you said the department is.
What I said is yes, the institution of policing is racism. You're creating false equivalencies. Just because a person is representative of the institution and the uniform that they're wearing does not mean that the institution is representative of that black person or the interests of that black person or black people.
Okay, so
what you're doing
fine.
is, let me talk, please. So you asked me to explain to you why black people, or like what you said in your video, he's Hispanic. So of course he couldn't be creating or he couldn't be racially profiling this.
Didn't say that, by the way. You might start by actually
your quote me. Your quote was I don't want to misquote you. What you said was,
that's convenient now, isn't it? After misquoting me in every possible way.
The cop looks Hispanic. What does that mean? If you weren't trying to say,
I said, you're not quoting me. I can quote myself.
I have it in quote. I went back and rewatched.
First off, stop yelling. Second off, I said, if that cop looks Hispanic, that's because he is, a fact that is only relevant because Bennett himself has racialized this whole case.
Okay, so that already shows you have no idea how racism works.
Explain to me how racism works, and explain to me how you pass up every other black person in the casino.
I'm going to explain this to you.
Okay.
Well, let me. Hispanic is not a race. Latino is not a race.
It doesn't. The point is, it doesn't matter.
Matt, are you gonna let me finish?
I am.
You're not gonna let me finish, so I can explain to you why it in fact matters.
You've not. Okay.
Matt,
go for it.
Are you
go for it?
Thank you.
I am.
So it matters because there are racial injustices within the Hispanic community that you are clearly ignorant of. Black and white is just as important in Brazil, in Colombia, in America, as it is in black and white, and as far as just when you think about stereotypical American people, English-speaking Americans that aren't of Hispanic descent, which is why, just for a reference, a cultural reference, black Cubans and white Cubans have a huge beef that you're probably ignorant of. If you knew this, then
not relevant to this at all.
It is. Explain why.
In no way. In no way is it relevant to this case.
Why it's relevant? Because if this white Hispanic cop, because there are white Hispanics, already has particular predispositions, if we're just going to go based off of the person, right? He already has if he has predispositions, or he could have predispositions about black Hispanics.
Again, there's no evidence of any of that. Just to be clear, zero evidence.
Okay, so once again, are you going to keep cutting me off, or are you going to let me explain to you?
I think you're getting plenty of time.
No, because you're not you know why I have to keep talking? I have to keep doubling back because you keep cutting me off. So if you let me
I think you're getting plenty of time. When is my turn?
If you will let me finish my thought, I could actually explain it to you. So
You've been going a long time, and yet there's no coherence.
Because you will not let me link the damn thought. So let me finish.
Keep going.
It's your turn. Anyway, so you keep saying what there's no evidence of. And I love how you love to act like you're playing devil's advocate, but what you're doing is practicing apathy, which is just as dangerous. So anyway, there is no evidence that the cop, that particular cop, or that particular person is racist, right?
Correct.
But why mention his ethnicity as if that would determine whether there was a possibility of him being racist or not?
Because Michael Bennett himself did, as I explained in the quote that you misquoted.
Why did you bring it up?
No, Michael Bennett did.
But Michael Bennett didn't mention the fact that he was Hispanic. You did.
He mentioned racism. Now here, it's going to be my turn now. It's going to be my turn to ask you a direct question.
Matt, no. You're not going to dodge the question.
What's your question?
He was Hispanic.
Because Michael Bennett did. That's the answer.
He did not bring up the fact that he was Hispanic.
He said he was. He said there's racial profiling. Okay. I'm the victim of racial profiling.
You're not answering the question, Matt. When did Michael Bennett say he was racist, or that he was Hispanic? Excuse me.
The whole context of the statement is racializing everything, that he was the victim of racial profiling. That's my answer. Take it or leave it. I've answered it for you. Now, I get to ask you a question.
No. Just say it. He didn't mention it.
He racialized the entire case. That's the basis for this whole thing.
Hispanic is not a race.
We're going to move on from this point.
So just say it.
We're going to move on from this point. I've answered the question for you.
No, you didn't. I asked you a yes or no question.
You're being obnoxious.
Did Michael Bennett, yes or no, mention Hispanic? Or that Hispanic.
He racialized the whole case. That is the nature, and that is the necessity for the comment. Now, here is my question for you.
Go ahead, please.
You understand that the cops passed dozens of black people in the casino, did not profile them. You grant that. What is it that made them profile Michael Bennett?
Okay, so let's be very clear. Just because a bunch of black people got passed in the casino does not mean that Michael Bennett wasn't racially profiled.
Then why weren't the other ones racially profiled?
Because they were in a group. Can you single out somebody from a group?
Yes.
Why? Okay, so a bunch of
Let's say there's a black guy hanging out with a bunch of white people.
Yeah, well, that's a completely different scenario. But what I'm saying is you're going to take on a bunch of people running towards you because there are multiple exits that multiple people ran from. They keep claiming that they saw Michael Bennett singling himself out and running in a total opposite direction, which there's actually no clear footage of, by the way. But either
yes,
way,
there is. First point, yes, there is.
I saw the footage. That is not. You can't clearly state that. Oh yeah, that's specifically Michael Bennett, and there were more.
Yeah, he's the one on the ground being arrested. So yes, you can.
But yeah, on the ground, when he was being arrested, yes. But either way.
So you think the whole thing is a conspiracy? He was just waiting outside, and they made up a story.
No. I don't think they were waiting outside. I think that they were chasing a bunch of different people, but somehow, some way, Michael Bennett's the guy.
And let's be clear. So you're making a distinction that Michael Bennett behaved differently from other people, and that's why he was singled out.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that pretending that race is the only factor that plays into what could be purported as racial discrimination as far as apprehending their suspect is silly. We know that it's not just a racial incident or a race.
Then we shouldn't call it racial profiling.
Let me finish. So when you're black, okay, cool. There's a bunch of black people in the room. So what perhaps could distinguish you from the rest of the other black people? Being a 6'4", 260-pound defensive end who can run faster than literally everyone else.
Yeah, that's sizeism. That's not racism.
No, what I am saying is it is the combination of how black people are perpetuated.
It's the combination of non-racial factors that make it racist?
No. It, in fact, amplifies racism. Because
so if you're really big and black, then it's more racist.
This is an argument used by conservatives all the time. Oh, well, he was running at him. He was running at him, and he's 6'4", 290 pounds. Oh, my God, I had to shoot him. No, because where it gets down to, Matt, which I don't think you're understanding, is the fact that there was a gun pointed at his head.
By the way, you lied about me on that. I mentioned that in the video. My screenshot is shown in the video, and you lied about me on that.
In your defense, yes, I did. I didn't see that because I wasn't looking at. I was writing.
I didn't see that. So you accused me of being a liar, which, by the way, you're a liar, and I'll take your apology now.
Well, first of all, no, don't condescend at me. Second of all, I just granted you that. I said I didn't see that. I just told you.
Yeah, you called me a liar over it.
Okay, you're kind of moving goalposts right now. We're talking about a totally different issue. I just conceded and said, no, in fact, you did show that. So congratulations, you won that part.
And so that would make me what? Not a liar?
So anyway, he pointed the gun at his head. Now, when you apprehend a suspect, are you supposed to point a gun at the head, Matt? I can tell you, no, you're not. No, you can't. You're not supposed to, period. When he asked why he was being arrested, they couldn't give him a reason. In fact, he was, and it had not been disproven yet, because once again, coincidentally, the body camera was off. What a coincidence. Anyway, so he said he's going to blow his fucking head off, and just because I know who Michael Bennett is, yeah, but it hasn't been disproven. We're the
Neither has Bigfoot. I'm still on the hunt.
Where's the evidence that it wasn't there? Isn't that what you like to say? Because
where's the evidence that it wasn't there? Where's the evidence that Bigfoot isn't real?
I would assume that's the absence of evidence instead of making intelligent inferences, which you seem to lack the ability to do. So,
right. Okay.
Whenever the police decided to stand up and say, well, these are the reasons why we apprehended Michael Bennett, they couldn't even give you one. But they chased him.
Now let's be clear. If you're going to characterize my video correctly, I said, I'll grant everything. I'll grant that Michael Bennett may have been mistreated by police. I'll let the investigation play out and let's see if he was. What you can't say, and the nature of my entire video, which you called me a liar over, you called me lazy over, is that you can't say it was racial profiling because it clearly wasn't. So you're setting up this straw man of me. You're not taking on my core argument.
That's where we completely and totally disagree, because you're making the assumption he can't say it's racial profiling.
He can't.
When there is literally every bit of structurally racist evidence, past or present.
So structurally racist, but not explicitly racist. Like the most important part is missing.
Do you not believe in implicit versus explicit racism?
I do not believe in systemic, structural, magical racism. No, I don't. I don't believe in racism without evidence. No.
Okay, so racism without evidence. So you are that simple-minded that you don't believe, unless things are spelled out to you in ABC format, that things can still happen without it being explicitly stated.
If you're going to make a claim that the judgment was based on race, I'm going to request some evidence, yes. And if you can't provide any, I'm going to say no.
Are you familiar with the Fair Housing Act of, 1984?
Sure, no, generally speaking, that you're not supposed to discriminate in housing opportunity or housing availability.
Do you know how that was passed, right?
I'm not familiar with the legislative history now.
It was passed because of redlining, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Redlining was the devaluation of properties, also the denial of loans to any neighborhood that was considered black. Had nothing to do with economy, had nothing to do with, your credit or whatever. It was only racism. That was it, right? This was all the way until 1977 legally. Because I love what you always say about legally, slavery has been reconciled. No, it hasn't.
I've never said that. What context did...
Quote was...
quote me.
What you said, it wasn't in that video, though. It was in your Colin Kaepernick video.
Something I said a year ago that's not even relevant to this. Okay.
But you've clearly stated that you still feel this way just now. So,
when?
Anyway, so like I was saying,
I've clearly stated it, but you can't produce the quote. Fine.
1977, Lyndon B. Johnson passed his Fair Housing Act, much to a lot of people's dismay.
So we're just going to move on from you misquoting me, and we're not going to address it.
Do you want me to explain to you why Michael Bennett has every right?
I want you to represent me fairly. That's what I want you to do. I want you to take on my arguments.
Let's talk about the issue. You're so concerned about your ego and how you're being represented, and if you
you called me lazy and a liar and a panderer, and I want to know what pieces of evidence you think I overlooked.
You asked me to explain to you how structural racism can play a part into this, and I'm explaining it to you. But you're still cutting me out talking about something that I conceded to, saying, yeah, I didn't see that part. I apologize. Move on from it. Now let's talk about the damn issue, please. Thank you. So, like I was saying, once Richard Nixon was taken in office, after this, the Fair Housing Act, it legalized and made everything equal, right? Wrong. Richard Nixon tried to...
This is not an argument I've ever made. This is nonsensical and irrelevant.
Baby Jesus. Do you really not hear yourself?
Do you not hear yourself?
You just said structural racism doesn't exist. You don't believe in systematic racism. You don't believe.
I don't believe in racism without evidence of racism.
Evidence exists because that's what people who are racist. When you have to get around the legal.
Tell me the evidence. What's the evidence in this case? Not some housing act from the 80s.
Pretending like you can't make intelligent inferences based off of the data that is available to you.
Give me a piece of data.
I'm trying to, but you keep cutting me off.
You've been spending 10 minutes on it.
You keep cutting me off.
Oh, it's like that's why.
So let me finish. Anyway, Richard Nixon, after this act was passed, fired people who tried to implement it, who tried to act on it. And that, even though it was on paper, guess what? Racist people were still occupying offices. Now let's talk about the police department.
Let me respond to that. You're making a point. Go ahead. So you would have me say that because there was past housing discrimination that was legislatively corrected, I'm supposed to buy that this is the same exact example of racism with no evidence whatsoever. I go,
you asked me to give you an example of why structural racism.
I want a fact relevant to this case. I gave
you an example. So I'm going to
okay, please.
Okay, go ahead. I'm about to segue into that. So anyway, police departments are just inherently racist. They can't help it.
Citation needed.
No, I'm going to. Are you gonna let me talk or no? I'm trying to. Anyway, and it's once again, I think you confuse intentionality with reality. Just because you're not intentionally racist doesn't mean you are. However, what's so funny? Do you really think that there's no such thing as apathetic racism?
Just because you're not intentionally racist. So I mean, you can level this accusation of racism at any. Look, Niko, you're really mean to me, man. You're cutting me off. I think you're racist. You can't comprehend your own racism, but it's there. Your implicit bias against me is it's really putting a damper on this whole thing.
It's almost like I don't want to think you're as simple-minded, intellectually lazy as you're presenting yourself.
Yeah, you can call me names that you can call me all the names that you want, but until you take out my reasoning, no one's gonna buy it.
I'm just stating facts at this point.
Oh yeah, well you're a big stupid poo-poo head. That's a fact.
I'm literally trying to explain to you that structural racism exists, and without this simple understanding that most people, 90% of people in academia know and believe, you can't even accept
it's a made-up statistic, by the way.
No, yeah, it is. Of course, obviously, it's not hyperbole. It's probably underestimating the actual reality
of that. It's also made up. Everything you're saying is made up.
Anyway, no, everything I'm saying about structural racism is made up. So I just made up a fact. I just made up the fact about 1984. We literally didn't get Nixon. Really? You're going to argue with historic data.
Almost everything you've said so far is made up.
You're going to argue with the fact that police departments actually arrested people on Black Wall Street after it was burned down and sanctioned by the state, saying that if a white person didn't vouch for them, that they have to stay in jail. You're
not relevant to this case.
That is relevant to this case because that's an example of police department. When do you think like Jim Crow ended? When do you think that ended?
Decades ago.
Decades ago. You think they had kids?
Yes.
You think they raised their kids? Explain that to me, Matt.
We're not going to get into some cultural debate. Michael Bennett's arrest.
Saying this isn't a cultural debate.
Stop. You're getting silly and you're yelling.
You're saying that he racially charged, right? That he said that this is due to racism. And I stand with him saying that you need to prove to me at this very moment in history why it is not racism.
Okay, well, I will get to that after you prove to me. No. We're gonna deal with the important things first. We'll get to that. I will prove to you how it is not racism. First off, I already have. But second off, you need to prove to me how Bigfoot is not real.
That is not that's false equivalency. Come on now.
Prove it to me. Prove it to me that he's not real.
That's not a history of existing on a planet, suddenly disappearing, and then
90% of academics believe that he has.
No, that's once again silly. You're really trying to argue that academics don't. Okay, so the study that was done,
Actually, that's an underestimate.
It was by
90+%, 95.
The study done by the sociology department of Notre Dame saying that corporations and companies weren't hiring black people because they thought they were more likely to be drug users than white people, even though they found out later once they forced all of them to get drug tests, and they found out that it was actually white people who are more likely to be
not relevant to Michael Bennett's arrest.
No. But it's made up, right? That study was just made up.
Probably.
So what you're trying to say is everything that has ever been done in academia is just made up.
Everything you're referencing is made up, guaranteed. I invite anyone to fact check it.
How is anyone supposed to have an intelligent conversation with you about racism when you don't even believe it exists?
First off, this is not a debate about racism. This is a debate about Michael Bennett's arrest and whether he was racially profiled. And you want to send it off into a million other topics because you can't address the fundamental question of why Michael Bennett was picked out and not the other black people. And it's because he behaved differently. Now,
it wasn't that he behaved differently. It's because he behaved differently while being black, while simultaneously being 6'4", while simultaneously being a free runner, because he could jump over a wall. And obviously, jumping over a wall is illegal.
So you just named about four factors that are not race. And I would agree with you. They might be involved in this, but they're not race, and therefore you can't say it's racial profiling. And to your point, let me speak, man. Let me speak. You're right that it's not a crime. Let me speak. This is my show, and I will kick you off in a second because nobody likes listening to you. And you should be thanking me for hosting you.
Nobody likes listening to me, right?
Now, I'm going to speak here. Are you going to let me speak, or are you just going to keep yelling?
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, to your point that running and jumping over a wall is not a crime, you're correct, but it is suspicious in an active shooter situation. That's why he was apprehended, and that's why he was let go in 10 minutes.
Than running out of any other door. Why is that more suspicious?
What do you mean?
Why is that suspicious?
Somebody hiding and taking off in an active shooter situation?
Everybody hid and took off.
But Michael Bennett was treated differently, so why?
Because it was his race combined with his height, and then he was.
But there were multiple black people running. You just said that.
So what you do is you like to leave this part out, right? So he ran. He was arrested, and actually, I don't really care that he was arrested. Got it? Because they let him go once they found out who he was, not because they found out he was innocent. By the way, which is another topic. But they pressed the gun to his head, and so I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out.
Unsubstantiated.
Unsubstantiated, right? So you can take the police department's word for face value, assuming that he was hiding.
I'm saying there's no evidence of it currently.
Jesus.
If the evidence comes out, then
everything the police department said you have taken on face value, and you can go watch it.
No, I'm saying claims require evidence.
Once again, if he had a damn body camera on, that wouldn't be an issue. But
there's 127 pieces of footage associated with it.
I will concede that there is no direct evidence, but once again, you can go, and anybody who's watching can go do this. Go look up who Michael Bennett is and what he is known for, and known for how blunt and honest that he is known for being.
You're relevant.
Why would he have to hurt his brand?
Okay, so why are we debating here? Why don't we just say, let's do this.
Let me finish. So why on earth would they hold him to the ground when he's running? He's not even being a threat to anybody. And yell at him,
behaving suspiciously.
I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out for running.
First off, you admitted that's unsubstantiated, so please stop referencing that.
For running, but it hasn't been disproven. That's what.
Neither has Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot was there and scared Michael Bennett.
But cops have had a history of police brutality.
Okay, but here's the problem with saying that.
Bigfoot has never existed, but police brutality has been confirmed.
No, 90% of academics believe in Bigfoot. That's a fact.
Equivocate structural racism with the figment of your imagination.
Yeah, those are totally different things, man. Structural racism and figments of your imagination, wildly different.
Sounds simple-minded. And I
well, again, call me names, but my reasoning's right here for you to take on.
I've made my point, but go ahead. Because when you're trying to compare structural racism to Bigfoot, you've already shown how intelligent you are, so go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is claims require evidence, and you've provided as much evidence for structural racism as you have for Bigfoot. Now here's the problem. You want to go to Michael Bennett's character, it's irrelevant. I would say if we're going to do this character thing, are you going to let me talk?
Go ahead.
Okay, if we're going to do this character thing, we might as well not do this debate. Let's just compare numbers and figure out which one of us donates more to charity, and then we'll decide who's right based on that. Sound fair?
You're making the charge that character is irrelevant, even though in a system that you celebrate, because one of your videos this system works. They take into account
again,
character.
Not a quote. I don't know what you're talking about.
Take into account character. Maybe the fact once again, like I said, physical evidence, which is literally never always there, which is why lawyers don't rely only on physical evidence, but circumstantial and character as well.
Whoa. Circumstantial evidence is the lowest form of evidence.
Okay, but it's still evidence. Yes or no?
Yeah, but it's not sufficient for conviction.
If somebody's character is questioned, a whole case can be thrown out. So go ahead and tell me that's low as well. Anyway.
No, character. No. The whole point is justice is blind, man. Character doesn't come into this stuff.
You all have got to be. Are you serious right now?
So you think if you're at trial for a crime, I should bring up your character?
Entire cases thrown out because they realize someone may have been a criminal or may have lied about something else in a similar case.
Yeah, that's relevant to the crime. That's relevant to the crime, not just did he lie about something one time.
So for example, I just had a lawyer go defend one of my friends who got her off of the charge because they said, oh, she's an up-and-coming journalist. She just graduated from Florida, blah, 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 blah. The reason why they decided not to charge her was specifically because of the person that she was.
Yeah, but the point is that has no bearing on whether she did it or not.
We're arguing these basic facts. How can we have a debate when you don't even understand basic legal?
Yeah, knowledge? I know. Please prop yourself up more as the superior intellectual. Everyone loves it. I get it. I'm stupid. I'll grant it to you.
This is basic. So anyway, the point is, granted that circumstantial evidence is just as important as physical evidence. Granted,
no, it's not.
Character, yes, it is.
No, it's actually much lower.
That a person's character is just as important as physical evidence.
No, it's not.
Can be thrown out of the
Absolutely
window
not.
Upon finding out that somebody may be untrustworthy in law. Look the shit up because this is obvious.
This is not obvious. This is wildly incorrect.
Given the history of structural racism, given the history of police brutality, given the history that police departments are reliant on income, not only from the state or the city, but also fines and things like that so they can keep employing more people, given the fact that they have used the circumstances because of structural racism that minorities in general, not even just black people, but minorities in general, have been placed in to target them. Did you
100% irrelevant to Michael Bennett's case.
No, it's not irrelevant. Because did you know, have you ever seen the video of, and it was Maury, whenever the cops all came out and said, yeah, we're actually forced to target black people.
We're talking about Maury.
Let me finish.
I'm sorry to the viewer.
No, go ahead.
We're talking about Maury Povich? Is that what you're talking about?
We're talking about the police officers who came out and said, we are told to
Maury
discriminate.
Povich.
And we are told to discriminate so we can fill our quota. We are told to discriminate so we can fill our quota because we need the money. And if we do not fill that quota, and this is a black person speaking, we will be fired. Now, if I had to choose, this is once again, this is natural flex kid. Okay, I gotta choose between you and me and my job and my family. Once again, the institution of racism is not the same thing as a person being intentionally racist. But when that institution pays my bills, when that institution can threaten my livelihood, all of a sudden you become a little bit more accepting.
And your support for this claim is a Maury Povich episode that's presumably decades old?
Are cops. These are police officers.
Honestly, dude, I don't even know what you're talking about right now.
Okay, so I suggest you go look it up because this is one of the most viral videos I've ever seen. Like, this is like a 14, 20 video.
Okay, tell me what to Google. Tell me what to Google. Maury Povich.
It's funny. It's type in cops admit to racial quotas on talk show.
Okay. Why don't you link it to me in the Skype chat because I don't see it. I Googled what you said and there's nothing here. The first hit is Meredith Vieira on the Today Show turmoil.
I got you. But go ahead when you were making a point. And while you're making your point,
no, honestly, I'm going to be completely blunt. This is so incoherent. I don't even know how to address it. I don't even know what you're talking about because we're so far away from the main purpose of this discussion. I will ask you this. Will you concede that I did not lie in my video since you called me a liar? Can I at least get you to concede that I didn't lie?
You didn't lie about one part of your video.
No. Otherwise, tell me what I lied about. What was the statement I made that I lied?
The statement that you made was, oh, it's absolutely not racial profiling. Because you can't make that statement.
Yeah, I can.
No, you cannot. How are you going to make that statement without evidence after you just literally
because the evidence is lots of black people were not racially profiled.
That's not evidence. You just said, okay, so a bunch of black people running out the door and they weren't arrested.
Wait, that's not evidence. We need to assess the character of every black person who was there.
You expected 6 cops to arrest every single black person, all of what, 50 black people that ran by.
Okay, so that's a lie. How did I pander? No, I'm saying you're accusing me of lying. How did I pander? What did I say that was pandering? Because presumably you think when I hear
like this, that's self. I feel like this whole discussion is self-evident. I don't know.
It's not. I mean, read the comments on your video. Lots of people don't think that's self-evident.
It's the comments from people from your page. Like I'm gonna pay attention to ignorant people. Go to you.
First off, you started this by praising me and saying how great of a creator I am. So don't cop out of that now.
Because you're a great creator and you may be right on some issues that don't deal.
Yeah, people who listen to me are idiots. How do you reconcile those? How do you square that?
All of them. But let's be very clear about something. Alex Jones.
You've been very clear about nothing.
And I don't really believe that people who 100% believe in Alex Jones are the most intelligent people in the world. Like you can believe some of the things he said, but have you ever been through your comment section? They use socialism as some type of ad hominem attack. Like I had one of your people come to my page and call me a nigger. Another one called me a Neanderthal. Another one. So like, I'm not exactly sure that your message is exactly the objective, what we are.
So let's be clear. I'm a racist. Is that what you're saying? I'm a racist?
No, I'm not you're a racist.
Okay. But I just send racists. I send racists to do my bidding. So I'm not objective.
But your total apathy and disregard for structural racism, one day you will be, well, maybe not, hopefully not, but you will be in a position where you have to make a decision. And you are so narrow-minded that you can never see any of the circumstances surrounding that situation, which will help you understand why somebody would be.
Here's what I find really interesting, Niko. Let me tell you what I find interesting. You have done nothing but presume to have knowledge about me personally and my character and knowledge of me personally. Let me finish. You've done nothing but presume to know everything about me and my life. Are you going to let me talk or am I going to have to cut you off?
You're not going to.
Am I going to have to cut you off? I'll end it right here, Niko.
You can end it all you want to. That's not going to hurt me.
You have presumed to know everything about me, and you know nothing actually. And my personal life is not relevant to this. Your name calling is not relevant to this. The problem is, here's the problem. You won't give me any benefit of the doubt. If I don't agree with you, it's because I'm a liar and I'm a panderer and I'm malicious. But you want the benefit of the doubt for Michael Bennett. You want the benefit of the doubt for you. Are you going to let me talk, man? Are you going to let me talk or not?
Go ahead. Yo, you like to lock grenades because you're making a bunch of assertions that I never made. You're making a bunch of charges that I never said. But go ahead. Do
I have to show the screenshot again of you calling me a liar and a panderer?
No, you said I made a bunch of assumptions about your character and your personality and
your life. You made assumptions about what my life experience has been. Someday you're going to be in this situation. You also claimed on Twitter that you're a debate champion and that I'm not, which, by the way, you don't know anything about my resume. You just made that up like everything else you say.
If you were one, I would know. I will tell you that. So
yeah, you're also not a debate champion. But that's also made up.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I made it up. You're right.
You did make it up.
Yeah, okay.
Good. I mean, I'll show.
Go ahead. You want to show?
You got.
Go ahead. Show. Go ahead. Please show. Go ahead.
The source is on Twitter. You got 10th place at a novice speaking contest.
Okay, so that's one tournament. What does that have to do with?
You're not a debate champion.
What you just quoted one tournament? My very first tournament in my college career.
I'm sorry. I thought you've been quoting one thing this whole time.
Matt knows everything about my debate career, y'all. That's my point. So that's once again, that's the narrow-mindedness of, because I didn't make the assumption. I did make the assumption that you're not in debate. But
so you did the same thing.
I can make that assumption because I've been a national debater for 8 years of my life.
You can make that assumption because you don't know anything about me. You know literally nothing about me. What?
You a debater?
I don't know. Was I? You know everything about me.
No.
What do you know about? Point is, what do you know about my career?
This is my point. Intelligent inferences. You're not a debater, correct?
I was a champion debater.
Yeah. Okay. Where?
University of North Carolina.
Yeah. Good try. So you weren't. So once again,
neither were you.
Because I have the ability to make intelligent inferences. It's all like, oh, he's just making assumptions. No, there's a difference between intelligent inferences, Matt, and assumptions. I can make intelligent inferences based off the facts and evidence I have, historical, contextual.
Nothing you've said has any evidence. That's the problem.
Okay. You are simple-minded. I'm not going to lie.
I know. You can call me names all you want, but people don't buy that.
I came into here. Yeah, your crowd want to buy this, but anybody.
No, nobody does.
Academia is making up structural racism.
Yeah.
Do you hear how you don't hear how stupid that sounds?
I'm saying anything that is claimed without evidence, I defer to made up.
There's literally, if I went through all the evidence of structural racism still today, we wouldn't even have time to do this entire show.
Okay, so give me another example.
Okay, I'll give you another.
And current, not decades ago, because there were times where we had legal racism. Sure, give me a current example.
How do you think that? You know what? I'm not even going to give an example of racism because I want you to understand how structurality.
Give me an example today.
You understand? So, equal rights for marriage just got passed, right? Because of the Supreme Court of North Carolina, then it was reaffirmed by the Supreme Court. So, did homosexuality, did homophobia just disappear, Matt?
I don't know. I would need to see an individual case, and we can judge it on that.
Sweet Jesus. You don't know whether or not.
And by the way, who cares if an individual is homophobic? Does it matter? Can someone not have an opinion?
Yes, it does matter if they're legislating, Matt.
Yes, but they're not.
Matter if they're
Those are unconstitutional laws.
Do you think that people follow the law? You think that only people without power follow the law, Matt? Is that what
all we can do is legislate? There's nothing. How else do you fix it? Do you want to control everyone's opinion?
That's why there's not only a political science major, because there's also sociology, because there's sociology, psychology, and politics that all play a part into not only how laws get passed, but how they're implemented, who decides to implement them. I'll give you another example of the GI Bill. Do you know? I'm assuming you know the 9/11 GI Bill, but are you familiar with the World War II GI Bill?
Again, you assume to know, or you assume I don't know anything and everything. I want modern examples of structural racism, not homophobia, not GI Bill from 1940, whatever.
I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you know what the 9/11 GI Bill is.
You've given me the benefit of the doubt on nothing so far. Now, I want a modern example of structural racism.
Modern example of structural racism. I'm giving you examples. I just literally gave you a modern example.
No, you talked about homophobia.
Because you cut me off and I forgot. You're right. I did talk about homophobia. So anyway, that's my point. When the when the Supreme Court case went through and gay marriage was legalized, homophobia did not disappear, Matt.
I want an example of modern structural racism. Not that it could exist, that it does exist.
To my point, yes or no? Because I have to give you context, because everything I say is, you don't have evidence, even though I'm trying to give you the context.
It should be very easy if you have the evidence.
So that you can wrap your mind around it. So anyway, just like that, Jim Crow, I think the last city, or excuse me, county to desegregate was in North Carolina. Can you give me
an example of 2017?
Please. So it doesn't have to be 2017. It can be 2016.
Yes, it does, because it's the year in which we exist, and the year in which Michael Bennett was arrested.
Anyway, so the last county was desegregated in North Carolina.
Okay, so you can't do it. No, we're gonna move on to something else.
So anyway, you asked me to give you an example of structural racism, and I'm trying to give you one.
Today, Junior, today.
Don't call me Junior.
But anyway, don't call me simple-minded. Don't call me lazy. Don't call me a liar. Don't call me a panderer.
You're the one claiming that academics are lying, and I'm supposed to not believe you're
No, I'm saying I don't believe claims without evidence.
Yourself.
I'm not saying they're lying. I'm saying I need to see the evidence.
You said they were lying. You said they were lying. You literally said. You said that structural racism was akin to Bigfoot.
It is.
Really?
Anything is if it's not without evidence.
See, that's the problem. So what you do, and I've talked to you. I've seen your friend Roman Millennial, who at least I can say that you at least try to read some. This woman has no idea what she's talking about. But what y'all do is
she's way more successful than you are. So
understanding.
Should probably take tips from her.
Because she's a conservative female who's cute.
No, because she's smarter.
And she reaffirms what people.
No, she's smarter. Makes better arguments.
Because this is a statistic. Because you love statistics so much.
No, it's not.
80%. Oh yeah, it is. By a Harvard study, by the way.
No.
80% of white people think either racism has totally disappeared, or we are around the corner from no racism whatsoever. Whereas
who cares? That's their opinion, and 2, that's made up.
That's that. Okay, so what you're saying is, if white people think that racism doesn't exist, that their opinion and how they behave is irrelevant. How their opinion affects
each individual is entitled to his or her opinion. You're not entitled to control someone's opinion. Who cares?
Matt, you can't be this slow, man. You're trying to say that people's opinion
shouldn't matter. It's none of your business.
It's none of my business if a person is potentially racist and he is trying to decide between myself and a white gentleman as to who he should hire, knowing that my application may not. It could be infinitely better.
He should be able to hire whoever he wants or not. Now, I agree that if he's racist in making his decisions, or if he refuses to hire black people, that's a poor business model.
No, it's not a poor business model.
Yeah,
it wasn't a poor business. No, it's not a poor business model because structurally they've been able to survive.
That business model?
Because who's the dominant race in this country? If I'm in a white town, and for example, there was a township about 2 hours away from Akron, Ohio, where their entire community is white, and they don't hire black people. And it's one of the richest communities in all of Ohio. It doesn't need a poor business model because structurally, white people have been propelled. And every time that black
That's not even true.
Pause. Whenever black people have tried to propel themselves, you know what happened? Have you ever heard of Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Glenwood, Oklahoma?
Have I heard of the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma? Yes, I have.
Have you ever heard of Black Wall Street? I'm
not familiar with that, no.
I'm not surprised. So what?
I'm not surprised because I'm so much smarter and I know everything.
They were because I actually value other people's experiences instead of trying to explain from my own.
Except for my experience though, and except for roaming millennials' experience. We're just panderers.
It literally says structural racism doesn't exist. So that's all.
Yeah, so my experience doesn't matter. Let's be clear. You don't value my experience.
So anyway, Tulsa, Oklahoma was the black community, because they were segregated, had to fend for themselves. They became the richest city in Oklahoma and one of the top 10 richest cities in the country. So the white people got a little pissed about that. Not only did they burn the entire city down, but black people were arrested for trying to defend their shops, their businesses.
Great story. Now let's get back to Michael Bennett.
It was state sanctioned, right? So
also a long time ago.
No. There's no such thing as a long time ago. If you actually have any type of basic understanding of psychology, basic understanding of why slavery even existed and what had to happen for slavery.
See, here's the problem, man. Here's the problem. I'm going to talk about your general outlook here. The problem is you're not willing to concede that disagreements can happen based on fact without someone being intellectually inferior or morally inferior to you. And it's not going to work, man. Like, you can't concede that I have reached a different conclusion based on honest inquiry and honest reasoning. Instead, you have to assign malice to me. You have to assume that I have bad intentions, that I'm trying to mislead people, that I'm trying to pander, that I'm trying to lie. And that's my problem with you. Now, let me finish. I've let you speak for a long time. My problem with you is that you won't give anyone else the benefit of the doubt, yet expect every benefit of the doubt for Michael Bennett and for you. That's a problem.
Okay, so that's not true. I actually give several people the benefit of the doubt. And in fact, I actually gave you the benefit of the doubt for a very long time. And I'm kind of disappointed I did, because you're literally saying that structural racism is made up. Like,
I'm saying I need to see your evidence for it, and you've not provided any.
I've not provided any evidence at all that structural racism exists.
This year.
I just don't. Matt, how old are you? Out of curiosity.
You should just, you know everything about me. You'd assume, right?
That's my question. You keep.
I'm 29.
You're 29 years old. If you don't mind, your audience don't kind of know how people are with their. Where are you from? Like,
I live in Bozeman, Montana.
Bozeman, Montana. Okay. Have you ever been assaulted by a police officer, Matt?
Have I? No.
I have. Multiple times.
Great story.
Actually, by 6 cops for trying to stop someone else for fighting. And I was the 2 people. One was white, one was light-skinned Latino. They didn't get arrested. I actually got jumped. And then he said something about, I bet you got a lot of girlfriends with all those tattoos. And then I said something to the effect that at this point he just beat the shit out of me with a baton. That yeah, I'm sure your wife will love
Okay,
me
so
all
your
the
individual experience with an officer is representative of all police,
I'm
but
trying to
of
help you.
course the police are wrong for judging black people.
It's
You get
not
to
no.
judge them as a group
What
based on
I'm
one
trying to
experience,
say
though.
is in your town in Montana, who I've done a lot of research on sociology, which I know is not a high police brutality area. Because if I
First
would
off,
know if it
how long
was,
do you think I've lived here? You don't know anything about me, and it's irrelevant to what we're talking about.
it is relevant to what we're talking about
No,
because the experiences in those experiences around you that you may or may not be surrounded by determine your outlook on life.
I've
We're
lived in
all
Portland,
limited.
Oregon. I lived in the Bay Area of California. I'm from Minneapolis.
Okay, so you lived in the Bay Area. That's a great example. Were you familiar with people from Oakland? Have you ever talked to anybody
I
who's
lived
experienced?
in the neighboring community of Oakland. I lived in Alameda, California. Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever met anybody or talked to anybody who's experienced police brutality?
Yeah.
And what did you tell them?
What do you mean, what did I tell them? I've heard people talk about bad run-ins with cops, sure.
And I mean, did you like ever ask about the details of their story? Like,
Sure.
I'm curious because I've literally been called you nigger scum of the earth by a police officer. So I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad cop.
No, it's not a bad cop. It's not a bad cop. That's what you're not understanding.
So Michael Bennett's not just a black guy. He represents all of them.
No, actually, no, he does not. But that's my
Oh, so
point,
black people are individuals. Cops are a monolith.
So once again, cops themselves are cops. You're a police officer. The institution of a police department, two different things. Do you not understand the individual versus the institution?
Do you not understand the individual versus the racial group?
So I went to UNC. I went to UNC. I got which would never have happened. I would be kicked out. If I got a 2.0, am I representative of the prestige of UNC?
No, so we're getting to a very important point here. Let's judge people as individuals, including cops.
No, because you can't do that because they have a job. Their bottom line is affected by the decisions they make.
Yeah, bad cops are fired all the time.
No, holy shit. What? Bad cops are not fired all the time. They're not fired. Give me 3 examples. I'll give you 3. Give me 3 examples of when that happened. Go ahead. Go on, Mr. Evidence. Go ahead.
Anytime there's been a high-profile shooting, the cop has been let go.
No, that's definitely not true.
Who has been retained by the force?
They get retired or they get retained because they never choose to indict. And if they don't choose to indict, oftentimes they retain them because there's no legal reason why they can't. So anyway.
But give me an example of a cop killing a person in cold blood who wasn't fired. Sounds like a bad cop.
No, Mr. Evidence. 3 examples of when a bad cop was fired for being a bad cop. Go ahead.
Anytime a cop commits a crime, they're going to be let go.
I don't want to hear the general. I don't want to hear general. Just give me a specific example.
Look, I don't have specific examples off the top of my head, but I'm saying if a cop commits a crime, they're going to be fired.
Give me a specific example.
You're going to have to rely on my reasoning on this one.
No. Oh God, I know you're not really asking to rely on reasoning right now. Okay, so give me a specific example in 2017 where a bad cop has gotten fired for being a bad cop. Go ahead.
I can't do it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. But if a cop is committing a crime, if a cop is convicted, they're going to be let go.
You can't do it off the top of your head. How do I know how do I know your logic isn't fall through?
Because people are fired for committing crimes.
No, okay. Give me an example in 2016. That's a good one. We can go even. I'll give you a benefit of the doubt now. Go ahead.
What do you mean?
2016.
Okay. How about Jared Fogle committed a crime and got fired? How about Jerry Sandusky?
Are you talking about Jared, the subway guy? We're talking about cops.
Committed a crime and got fired. All I'm saying is, you commit a crime, you're severed from your employer.
No. Double back. Because I don't really think you even understand how police unions work. Police unions actually protect police officers from getting fired.
By the way, I used to work for a labor union, but
that's not the same.
Tell me more about what I know and don't know.
That's not a police union.
So what?
You clearly don't know how they work and what their goals are. So anyway,
but you do. Can I get your resume point on that? Have you ever talked to a laborer? Have you ever asked them about their experience?
I asked everybody about their experiences actually. So anyway,
and what did they tell you about getting their job protected?
Look, man, don't try to change the subject.
No, this is what you do. This is your treatment of me, man. You can't do this to me and then get mad when it's thrown back at you.
You said logic doesn't make sense without evidence. So I'm waiting to hear the evidence of a police officer.
Okay, well, we'll go to the Google, okay?
Please.
Police officer fired. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, I saw you reference this earlier in your video. We only kill black people, a cop told the woman.
Yeah.
That was a joke, by the way.
That was a joke? Holy shit. That was a joke. He
got fired.
Are you really saying that was a joke?
And he got fired. And by the way, that's not even a crime, and he got fired.
Are you really saying that race? He just told a woman that black people are the only ones who get shot by cops.
It was a very poor taste joke, but it was a joke. Do you think he was actually saying, I kill black people?
Matt, have you ever lived in the South?
Stop.
Have you ever lived in the South? I just don't.
Have you ever lived in the North?
Yeah, actually, I have. I was in California.
Okay, well, that changes everything. California's not the North. Come on. California's not the North.
I mean, a liberal, predominantly liberal state.
Have you ever lived in a red state?
Yeah, lived in several.
Yeah, you notice how that's irrelevant to what we're talking about?
No, it's not irrelevant.
Yeah,
that's not irrelevant. If you think that experience is ever irrelevant, then that shows how naive you really are.
Experience is irrelevant, yeah. Let's talk about data. Let's talk about anecdote.
Experience is irrelevant.
Yeah. It's great for storytelling. Doesn't make a solid case.
This entire argument, you haven't said anything factual other than what the cop has repeated, because you assume that he is being accurate.
No, I want evidence, and the cop showed evidence, and Michael Bennett didn't.
He did not show evidence.
The body cam footage.
What body cam footage did you see?
The one at the cop's press conference. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did watch the press conference.
So don't ask me what body cam footage I saw. What are you talking about?
What evidence that was there other than when he got arrested on the ground and he saw a bunch of people running out the same south door?
Every claim the cop made was substantiated on footage, and he refrained from making statements that could not be substantiated by the footage. I'm not on the cop's side for the sake of being on the cop's side. I'm on the cop's side because the claims were substantiated, and Michael Bennett's were not.
Pretty much every statement you're ever going to make in regards to these situations. Have you ever? That's out of curiosity because I don't want to assume because I haven't watched every single one of your videos. Have you ever genuinely made a video saying, wow, you know what? Like, for example, in the case of Philando Castile.
Yeah, if you listen to my podcast, we had a lot of questions about the Philando Castile case.
So did you at any point admit, okay, maybe this was racially charged?
Go back and watch the podcast. In fact, I think it was an episode with Roaming Millennial, who you also threw under the bus, and we all had questions about it. We all had questions about it.
Tell me yes. I said that you said that, you know what? This possibly could be racially charged. If you say yes, I'm going to believe you. I'm not going to say you.
I don't know that I made the racial charge because I don't see the evidence for that. But I do. But based on what happened in the Philando Castile case, you can go back and listen to me say, this looks pretty tough to justify. This looks like potentially bad police action. You can go back and listen to me talk about it.
Okay, so this looks pretty tough to justify. Do you hear? It took literally someone getting shot with a permit because of a broken taillight for you to just even say this looks pretty tough to justify. That means your thought process is not objective.
What are you talking about?
Every piece of evidence other than him saying I'm killing you because you're black was evident to show that, you know what? There's probably some issues here. And it's probably
why do you think Philando Castile's killer was let off? He wasn't convicted. Why?
Because he's when's the last time you think a cop that killed someone was convicted?
Why? So yeah, explain it to me.
When do you think that was?
Was it all the black jurors?
No, actually, the police departments work with the unions, and then the unions actually work and affect the juries. I don't.
Oh, so they picked the racist black jurors.
The racist black jurors.
Yeah. Who didn't?
What is that?
Who didn't convict?
What is a black juror have to? Once again, institution versus a person. A person.
Okay, so it was the racist black people. They were racist because of the institution.
You don't have to be totally and unequivocally racist to do a racist act. That's two different things. You're aware of this.
Okay, that makes no sense to me. I'm not aware of that.
Going to the Latino guy, whatever. He could, based on, for whatever reason, maybe the people he's encountered, maybe it's his family background, because there's a huge population of Latinos that are white who hate black people, in case you didn't know.
And a huge population of black people who hate other races as well.
That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now. So
it has everything to do with it. Racism is not.
There's black and there's white and it's ethnicities. So just in case.
Sure, and there are lots of racists in both populations.
No, there are not lots of racists in both.
Yes, there are.
There are people who hate white people, which is never right to hate anybody because of the way they look. First of all, it's never right. But there are black people and Latinos who hate white people because of how white people have treated them and their family
their
entire lives.
Yeah, so the power plus privilege, that whole thing, or privilege plus. It's not the same if a black person hates a white person because of skin color.
There was an 8-year-old just hung. There was an 8-year-old hung from a tree.
No, that's the allegation. That's under investigation.
They won't even release the details of the investigation.
Because it's investigation involving a child.
The allegation, he was hung from a tree and there's marks on his neck.
And it wasn't a tree, it was a picnic table.
Oh, I apologize, from a picnic. You're right, it was from a picnic table. My apologies. So what's their what? You can't
here's the thing. The police don't ever release information about investigations of children. When does that happen? The alleged hangers,
information? Like
the suspects are children.
The investigations, the people were allowed to follow the investigation.
The suspects are children, so that's not a racial case.
Shot the police kept the public in the eye of the investigation.
No, but the suspects are children. Children, minors.
Which no. The teenagers are charged differently.
Minors.
Children, teenagers, and adults are charged differently.
Minors. So that's why they're not releasing the investigation information, is because there's minors involved. It's not a racial issue with the police.
You can release details about a case while keeping people anonymous.
Yeah, but that's about all we know is a group of kids allegedly noosed another kid. What else could they release?
Relevant. There was a kid, a black 8-year-old boy, lynched essentially on a picnic table by a group of teens that are confirmed white.
That is the allegation, right? So what other information could they release?
But at that point, that's irrelevant. What do you think that was about?
You just wanted more information released, and now you say it's irrelevant.
What do you think that was about?
What do you mean? What do I think that's about?
What do you think they were trying to insinuate by hanging an 8-year-old from a rope?
I'm not going to grant that that's what's happened because the investigation is not concluded.
Do you think? Oh, so we can just take police investigations for face value, is what you're saying?
What I'm saying is I want any claim investigated and substantiated before I buy it.
So we can take police investigations for face value. We just had several police departments in Florida that were closed for falsifying evidence. In Fort Lauderdale.
Do you know we have 99.9% of police departments that do a great job investigating?
No, that's not true. That's
and
false.
It's not. I'm not just deferring to police departments. I'm saying I won't believe a claim until it is substantiated.
Fort Lauderdale, Broward County Police Department.
Not where this happened, by the way. Not where this kid was hanged, allegedly.
No, manufactured crack. It is not irrelevant because you're going to tell me you can take.
How is a police department in Florida relevant to this one?
We can take every police department's investigation on face value when you can't
how
do
is
that.
How is poor behavior of a police department in Florida relevant to this noosing case?
Assuming that these institutions are acting as on the morally on behalf of the people instead of the bottom line.
Yeah. No. By the way, 99.9% of them do. So that's not a crazy assumption.
That is not true. That is statistically not true. And if you want to find me 99.9% that are, once again, waiting for evidence. Of course, you're not going to have any evidence.
Okay, so what's your estimation on police investigations that are staged, that are fake?
What do you mean my statistic?
Well, you're not willing to grant my position that the vast, overwhelming percentage of police departments are honest, good, hardworking public servants who do a great job.
I believe that the majority of police are good people. I believe that the majority of police are good people.
And by the way, the police departments, let me add this. It's not just the police investigation, it's due process of law. So the police might be inappropriate in their investigation. Let me finish. They might be inappropriate in their investigation, but that's why we have due process of law, and these things are determined by a jury by trial of your peers. So even if the police try to set you up, you have the protection of due process of law. So you're not just making the allegation that the police departments are racist, but that the court system is racist too.
Well, okay. So do you know proportionally how, like, blacks versus whites, just to keep it simplified, blacks versus whites, who commits more crimes?
I'm glad you asked. Would you like to tell me?
Go ahead. Do you know?
You want to see the stats on violent crime?
Oh, I know the stats. Trust me.
Okay, why don't you explain them?
Not just violent crimes, but crimes in general.
No violent crimes, because we're talking about violent altercations.
I asked you a question about crimes in general. But go ahead. So do
Here's
you know,
violent crimes broken down by race in 2012.
Don't try to reframe my question.
No, don't show that. Black people are 13% of the population and 37% of violent crimes in 2012. So they're policed differently. Oh no.
Go ahead. Say it again.
So black people are 13% of the population.
Yeah.
37% of the violent crime.
Yeah. Do you know why? Because the upsurge in Chicago, so that was an issue. But overall, black on black crime has dropped. But proportionally,
great,
overall,
but it's still way too high.
That's irrelevant to my point.
No, it's not. That is why there are disproportionate outcomes.
That's not why. So I'm gonna tell you why.
The reason that's not why. They're committing more crime and going to jail more, but that's not why. Because they're racist.
Let's go. You know who rapes people more? Since we're gonna straw man, white people.
Not by rate. No, I'll show it right now.
No. White people rape at a far higher number than black people.
No, only stop right now.
Sure, population percentage.
Okay, well. So, no, not anyway, on population percentage. 5,000 black rapes. Listen to this. I've got it on screen. 5,000 black rapes in 2012. 10,000 white rapes. Now that's out of a population of 30 million black people and 192.
Who raped more people? Okay.
Period. But who got shot more by the cops? White people.
So yeah, because there's more white people. But
so is it rate or is it you got it? No, stop. Stop right there. Is it the rate that matters or the raw count?
Go ahead and tell me that statistic. Shot by the cops and innocent, shot by the cops and guilty.
What are you talking about?
When they were shot by the police.
More white people are shot by police.
But more black people are shot by the police who are innocent.
None of them have been. None of those have gone through adjudication. That's the nature of a killing.
You go through adjudication when you're dead, Matt.
Yeah, and more white people are having that happen. More white people are having that happen. By the raw number. If you're going with the raw number, if you're going to say white people rape more, you must say they're shot more by the police because there's more white people.
They weren't shot more by the police officers. I've never made
I'll show it. What are you talking? I'll show it on screen right now.
I just said I didn't say they weren't shot more by the police officers. But you're deviating away from. You're moving to go.
No, I'm not. Here, just so we're clear, shot by police in 2015, 497 white people.
Racism of the judicial
259 black people.
So, as far in regards to the racism of the judicial system, we commit proportionally the same amount of crimes.
No,
give or take
false.
Proportionally.
No, put it up on the screen.
White people actually commit more crimes, but great.
No, false.
Population. Yes, they do. Are we really going to argue who commits more crimes?
The data's on the screen right now.
The data's on. I have the data. It's white people more crimes.
They also get but then you must grant that they're killed by the police more. And you must say white people commit more crimes because there are more white people. If you don't adjust by population, it's a meaningless statistic.
By the police. Holy shit, Matt. Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense to measure crime not adjusted by population.
Any sense. You're still
37% of the violent crimes are committed by 13% of the population.
I'm trying to avoid it. But if white people commit raw numbers, more crime, how the hell do black people occupy more prisons, Matt?
What are you talking about? White people do not commit more crime.
Yeah.
By rate or by raw count?
I'm talking about raw count. I said that 5 times.
Show me the numbers. Let's show me the numbers on the prisoners. Are there more black prisoners for violent crime? Do you have the numbers?
I'm talking about crime, period, which makes it even worse. I'm talking about just crime in general, which means that black people.
But we're talking about police brutality.
Petty crimes that white people apparently are getting.
But we're talking about police brutality, though, and of course you're more likely to have police violence if you're committing violent crime.
You just claim that the due process kind of mitigates the fact that people could be fallible. And even if I granted you that people can be fallible in the police department investigations, you're not going to be able to convince a judicial system, convince me that the judicial system is just totally objective out of nowhere, even though black people are charged at ridiculously higher rates in prison.
Because they're committing ridiculously high rates of crime.
And so are white people, genius.
No, they're not. It's much lower. It's not.
Live in a fantasy world, man.
Look at these numbers are comparable.
And when we get done,
black people rob more than white people, even though they're way less of the population.
I want to send you these. I want to send you to actual.
Black people killed more people than whites in 2012, even though they're 13% of the population.
More crimes, yes or no?
What?
Did white people commit more crimes, yes or no?
The number, yes. Not by rate, though. Not by population. And actually, they didn't. Black people killed more than white people.
Stop trying to move the goalposts. I said
okay, robbery. How about
answer the question?
How about robbery?
Answer the question.
Do you want all crime or specific crimes? Okay, violent crime.
No, why do you keep saying violent crime? That's the attitude.
Because that's what matters.
That's not what matters.
Yeah, when it matters in the context of police brutality.
Their lives, it does not matter.
There isn't a lot of police brutality in response to bank fraud.
If you're losing your life to a corrupt judicial system, no matter what adjective you put in front of crime, if I'm going to jail over stealing a piece
if you're going to complain about violent encounters with the police, violent crime does matter.
No, it does not matter. It matters how people perceive overall. And once again, even if, just say, for example, Michael Bennett wasn't Michael Bennett. Even if he wasn't the football player, right? I'm running anyway. Why? Because I have an understanding that, shit, if I get arrested, odds are I'm going to jail. People are getting hung in prisons. We just had somebody get hung in Broward County like 2 years ago. People are getting hung in prisons for being black. We had the situation with Sheriff our pal in Arizona where kids are dying in prison. People are being racially profiled to be arrested. Black people are being.
They're also committing crimes at higher rates.
So of course, I'm actually probably going to run my ass off because I'm not going to figure out whether or not this cop running in.
Granted that Michael Bennett could have acted impulsively, and I understand why he would. It was a chaotic situation. I granted that in full. Again, you're misrepresenting me. Let's we're not going to make a lot of progress here. Can I ask you this? There was one other thing you accused me of doing that I thought was unfair. Mm-hmm. You said, now I'm going to quote you as accurately as possible because I don't know if you meant to say this about me or not. The video was about me. The video was about me, and you said that almost every conservative YouTube. Hold on, let me read the quote to you. The video was about me by and large, but then at the end you said in your.
I mentioned you could watch the video I watched, but go ahead.
Okay, but you grant that I was the focal point.
I mentioned your name, if that's what you want to consider the focal point.
Several times, and you disputed my video in particular. Now, at the end, you said, almost every conservative YouTuber I know refuses to have a minority on their show. Did you mean to include me in that, or are you excluding me from that?
No, that wasn't necessarily pointed towards you.
Okay, because that's how I interpreted it, and if that's what you meant, then I would dispute it. But if you don't mean that, then we're good.
No, I wasn't charging you with that. Because this is a conversation that me and Harbassett have had about conservative. Well, not even just conservatives and liberals only having people on the show that agree with them. That wasn't necessarily.
No, you said racial minorities, not perspective or ideology.
Me and Hart's conversation was all encompassing. But in this particular situation where it involved race, conservative YouTubers, by and large, will not have a minority on.
And do you mean that they refuse to have black people on, not just black people you disagree with or agree with?
I said minorities they disagree with. That's what I said in my video.
I don't know. I have the quote here. Almost every conservative YouTuber I know refuses to have a minority on their show. That's a quote from your video.
And what's the rest of the quote?
That's the quote I have.
You could play the rest of the quote if you want. I'm sure you have it up.
No, I don't. Well, I can listen back to it, but in the interest of time.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I get what you're saying, but I know what I said, and I said that, and I continue to say that they don't like having people on that don't agree with them.
No, but you were talking about race.
That's my point. Having a minority on that doesn't agree with you, that was the whole point.
No, having a minority on. That's what you said.
It wasn't charged.
That police departments are being found hiding actual.
Specifically.
Okay, but I still do think that's wildly unfair to accuse the vast majority of conservative YouTubers to refuse to have minority races on their show.
No, I said that minority races that to engage in a discussion of race or
not what you said.
Something like acting to race.
That's not what you said.
But it's not. That's actually not. It's not at all. Actually, I don't think it's very.
I'll accept your clarification, but so I just wanted to be clear. You're not accusing the vast majority of conservative YouTubers of having a racial policy of who's allowed on their shows and not.
I'm not gonna make that assertion.
Okay.
Not exactly. I'm not gonna make that assertion.
Okay, because that's what the.
I think they pick and choose. I think they pick and choose. I think
based on race.
I think race has something to do with it. I think some of them do, not all of them.
So if it's like Michael Bennett, and if they're like big and burly, then they'll say no, and it's still racist. But if they're, smaller and I don't know.
No.
They look more clean shaven or something.
If they think that they can be intellectually challenged by this whatever minority or this woman, for example, which I actually, just saw happen. I literally saw it happen in front of my eyes on Twitter, where a woman and a man were arguing with the conservative YouTuber, and they were both black. However, in this situation, just happened to be a situation with a woman. No matter how popular she is or who she's affiliated with, they will always try to debate the male instead of her. Now that's not racial. That's not racial, but I'm just giving an example. But my point is, do I believe that there's a large majority of YouTubers who may be apathetically racist or so? I mean, go through your comment. Go through your comment section, and you can let me know.
Those aren't YouTubers. Those are random internet anonymous commenters. To close, are you accusing me of being?
They're definitely not anonymous. They have the name.
Yes, they are.
Go ahead.
Are you accusing me of being apathetically racist?
Yeah, actually, I am definitely accusing.
Okay, so I'm apathetically racist.
Yeah, you just denied that structural racism is not a thing. Or you said that structural racism is not a thing.
You are apathetically a anti-Bigfoot bigot. Let that be known.
I guess.
You just denied that he exists. We'll close it there.
I guess.
Yeah, well, you got to accept that. You got to
accept that. Racism actually existed at one point, right?
Well, so did Bigfoot. Depends who you ask.
That, right?
I've seen the footage. No, did legal?
Did slavery exist?
Yeah,
Did slavery exist?
Does it exist now? No, not in the U.S.
Ever existed? Okay, you can end the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, so he just takes off. Oh my gosh. Okay. Listen, I don't think that was good. I don't know what to tell you guys. People always want me to do debates and stuff, and so I try to accommodate that. In my estimation, that was insufferable. I think he's very rude. I think that his arguments are incoherent, and I don't know. I'm not thrilled with how I perform in those circumstances either, because it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious. The guy made no coherent points, and I don't even know what he's talking about. Why are we talking about Maury Povich and stuff? Maybe the answer is that I need to get a moderator to keep this in check. So, I guess I sort of apologize. I did the best I could, and I only do this because people want to see it, is what I see. Oh, please do more debates or whatever. And if people challenge me and say I'm too scared to do it, I guess I'm going to do it. So I don't know. I'll leave this up. If you made it this far and you did actually listen to it, good for you. Congratulations. And I appreciate your support for my show. If you hated this and you didn't make it this far and you want to dislike it and tell me never to do it again, I fully understand. I thought that was entirely disrespectful. I thought it was intellectually dishonest. I thought it was incoherent. I don't think it was productive for anyone, him or me included. And that's why I think my time probably would have been better spent making, a normal video that you guys could have watched. But yeah, I don't know. I gave it the shot I could. I'll play it out. So if you want to go to Niko's stuff, it's linked in the description for you. You can go talk to him on Twitter or go to his YouTube channel. I don't think I'll really ever talk to him again, and I guess I'll think really hard about doing this again. I will go spend my time doing something better, which is making a quality video product for you guys, and then Blonde will be back on the podcast on Sunday. So look, formal apology from me. I'm sorry. I'll try to do better.